with this new Omicron variant spreading across the country, that's leading to a lot of cancellations of events. The Consumer Electronics Show, though, still saying it will continue come January. Let's bring in Dan Howley for the very latest on that front. Dan, it's going to continue for now, but I'd imagine there's a lot of companies who are planning to travel there who are now saying, well, we're not so sure that's a smart decision.
Yeah, now, according to the head of the CTA, the issue, at least some months back, was less about COVID and more about the chip shortage and some companies not being able to get access to their chips that they would need for prototypes and things along those lines. But now we're looking at this huge surge of Omicron. And so, you have to wonder whether or not companies that said they were going to go are going to actually go, how their presence is going to be. I know some companies have said they won't have anybody there on the ground. This was before Omicron really took off, but wouldn't have people on the ground, rather have some kind of self-guided tour that people would end up using. So I don't really see this being the kind of huge blowout event that CES usually is. You're talking about one of the largest conventions in Las Vegas. They specifically rebuilt or expanded, rather, the Las Vegas Convention Center to add more space for vendors to be able to show off some of their wares. And, this is a place where we see things like new chips announced by Intel, new vehicle technologies. For God's sakes, a few years back, we saw flying taxis and, all that kind of jazz all over the place. Every kind of TV that you can think of. I just don't see that happening this year, or it really getting the kind of play that you would expect just because of the issue here with Omicron. And now they did say that everybody's going to get rapid tests on site. How good is that really when you're hearing things like rapid tests? I personally know that a few people whose rapid tests came back negative, and then they came back with a PCR test that was positive. So, how can you guarantee the safety of so many people that are going to be crammed into these facilities, even if they are wearing masks the entire time? I don't know how good of an event this is going to be in person. That being said, there was the contingency, and this was smart on their part, built in, that they would have it virtually as well. So it's not just going to be an in-person event. A lot of the events are going to be live streamed. You're going to be able to get all of the announcements. So I think we're still going to be able to see everything that we normally would have been able to see, just virtually, not in person, and get our greedy mitts on some 85-inch TVs.
Dan, we've learned that, things could change really quickly in a matter of days. How quickly would they be able to transition this to an all virtual event if it does, in fact, come to that?
I think it really comes down to individual companies at this point. It seems as though they're going full steam ahead. We're only, a few weeks out from when CES would start, the first week of January. So I think at this point it comes down to what individual companies want to do and how comfortable they are, how comfortable media outlets are. Don't forget, companies spend thousands and thousands of dollars on booth space, on tickets. So this is a sunken investment already for them. So, you would think it would be hard for them to really pull the plug, especially at this point when the plans are already in motion. I think if they did end up doing so, though, the virtual experience, at least for the major companies, would be easy to pull off, relatively easy to pull off. I don't necessarily know for the smaller vendors, the ones who really rely on this to get their name out there, would be able to benefit. And I think that's really where the main issue comes in. It's for those smaller, like mom and pop tech shops that may have the next cool thing or may have a new technology, and another large company will see that and then buy them out. You just have to wonder how they would be able to handle this if they did eventually go virtual. But at this point, it's still going to be held in person. But like you said, things are changing very rapidly here. We'll have to see.
Well, if there were any cancellations, it would be a huge hit to those Vegas hotels as well. These events, a big moneymaker for them. We'll be watching that one. Thanks so much for that, Dan.